Welcome to another episode of the Sugar Daddy Show. This is a commute cast again, another commute cast. Again, on my way home, same way, because I know this way, I'm comfortable with this way. There's nothing wrong with that. It usually just depends on, actually, most days when I'm at work and I've ridden to work, I'll spend all day thinking about, there's about 3 or 4 different ways I can go to get to the same place. This is probably one of the worst. It's got the most interesting stretches of road, but it's probably the worst with the traffic. There's a horrible intersection up here that just like, there's traffic going one way. They're being let out of this factory, and the traffic is coming one way, so it's hard to get across the traffic to make a left. But, whatever. You know, I'll wait. It doesn't matter. It's really not that big of a deal. It's just kind of stinky when it's warm and hot. But, so, enough of the cold opening. Is that what that's called? Today, I figured I'd share with you my ghost story. That's right, my ghost story. Sugar Daddy is I call myself a skeptical believer. I've seen things in the previous house that I lived in. In this house that I live in, I see stuff every now and then. I'm not crazy. At least, I don't think I'm crazy. I don't feel like I'm crazy. But I have seen things, and things that freaked me out. Not scared me so much, just kind of, they're freaky. You know, the things that I've seen, they've happened so quickly that it was really no time to be scared. But I think this was the first thing that happened to me, and this is coming from somebody, I'd never had anything happen before this. I'm not like, I was into ghost stuff. I've always been into ghost stuff, spirits or whatever you want, paranormal, things like that, Bigfoot, ghosts, UFOs. But this was really the first thing that ever happened to me. This was 2007 that this happened. And like I said, it was in the previous house that I lived in. And instead of explaining to you what the layout of the bottom floor of the house was, I'll just stick a picture up. And that way, you can just see the floor plan. You can refer to it, print it out, and refer to it during the story. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Like I've mentioned on a previous episode of the Sugar Daddy Show, I work in law enforcement. I'm a law enforcement officer. Right now, I'm on a straight day shift. I work straight days, which is nice. Before that, though, I worked a swing shift, which meant sometimes days, sometimes afternoons, and then just for fun, midnights thrown in to the mix. Up to like 8 weeks of midnights a year thrown in that you would have to work to basically fulfill your obligation. So, when I was on midnights, what I would do, like let's say today I get off at 4, I would go home. You are not turning out there. I would go home and I would stay up. Or like if I was working afternoons, I'd get off at midnight. I'd stay up for as long as possible, usually till around 3 in the morning, and then go to bed, sleep. The next day, try to stay up at least until 5 or 6, just to kind of get my body in the mood, trying to get my rhythms. So, this particular night, this was 2007, like I said, my wife was upstairs sleeping. I was going on a midnight shift. This was my first day off. So I had gotten home at 12 that night, and so I was up. It was about 1:15 or so in the morning, and my wife was upstairs, like I said. She was pregnant with our daughter, and I was sitting downstairs, and I was watching Band of Brothers, the Carentan episode, which is a great show. Watching the Carentan episode, and I had in my kitchen a Happy Meal toy from McDonald's. It was Nemo's dad from Finding Nemo. It was Nemo's dad, Marlin, and when you pressed on his fin, it would laugh. Like you press on the fin one time and it would go like that, and it would cut off. And it wasn't a continuous switch. If you wanted it to continue laughing, you would have to press it each time you wanted to laugh. It wouldn't just keep going if you held it down. You have to actually like just keep pressing it over and over. It had a tendency to just go off randomly, and I figured that maybe it was just the batteries were dying or something like that. Or it did have on the bottom, it had these contacts. If you touched both of them with, put a finger on each one, it would complete a circuit and it would go. So it would go in water too, and it would just continue the circuit. So this thing was sitting over the kitchen sink, and like I said, it would go off randomly sometimes, so it wasn't really a big deal. It was nothing that I ever thought about. It just happened. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm facing the TV, and I'm watching the Carrington episode. And it was just about the time the initial attack in that episode was over, and Damian Lewis, who played Captain Winters at that time, it was when he was standing in that street, and he was like looking at a map or something, and where the guy on the horse runs up to him on the horse, and he like gives him the message, and it was like that period, and then he gets shot like with the ricochet in the leg, and he hadn't gotten shot yet. That's like all I know, like where it was time frame wise. But he was standing there and he was staring at this thing, and he said, I'm sitting there. It's about 1:15 in the morning. The only light on is the lamp that's on the side table there, and it's at its lowest setting. All of a sudden, this Finding Nemo toy starts laughing from the kitchen. Now, there's no lights on in the kitchen. There's no lights on in the dining room. The only light on is this lamp at its lowest setting, and the TV. Those are the only lights. And this thing, this toy, like starts laughing out of the darkness, just like that over and over again, like someone is just standing over it and just pressing the button down continuously, just as it ends one laughter cycle or whatever and goes to the next, like timing it perfectly. So it's just like a stream of laughter that's going over and over again. And it got so annoying, this laughter did, that I turned down the volume on the television. Turned down the volume, because it's interrupting the show. It's like all I can hear. And this thing's still going, laughing. And now it's the only sound. Like there's still action, the TV, the picture's still moving. It's still a moving picture, but there's no sound. It keeps going for like maybe 45 seconds to the point where I pause the TV. And where I pause it, Damian Winters, his character, is looking down at the map. Is like, so you can't see his face, but he's looking down at the map, but it's paused there. That's the image I see on the screen. He's standing in front of that wall, and he's looking down at that map. That's the image I see. And I'm still listening to this thing laugh in my kitchen. Like that. And just about the time where I decide it's dead, like the battery is like, it's done like one of those weird Elmo will kill Johnny type of deals where it's just like freaking out because the battery is kaput. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna go get it, and I'm gonna like just stop it or see what's up with it. It stops making noise, just cuts out. Just all of a sudden it cuts out. And before, like the remote control is in my hand, before I can press play, before I can like either look to the left or the right, I see out of the corner of my left eye, I see a little girl with pigtails, the outline of a little girl with pigtails run behind the love seat towards the steps. Like I swear to whatever you believe in, it like I saw it clear as day. There's the image of a little girl. She runs behind the love seat and she runs toward the steps, and she passes in front of this lamp that's on this end table. And as she passes in front of it, I can see the lamp through her. Right? I can see the lamp through her. But when she gets to the other side of the lamp, it's as if she's gone behind a wall. And she's disappeared. Like, it's like she walked behind the wall, and I don't see her anymore. Like, just like, I mean, it happened in an instant. Before I could even change, but look left or right, press anything. This little girl, she just runs straight up towards the steps. And This is where people are like, yeah, that's bullshit. That's whatever. No, you didn't. There's no way. It's like, well, this is the thing about that. And this is probably the thing that a lot of people that have seen things don't tell you, is that even though it was something I believed in paranormal, I believed in spirits, I've watched Ghost Hunters, I bought the book that they put out, the Ghost Hunters book, all the videos on YouTube, all that type of stuff. And before you can sit there and say, oh sure, okay, you just, whatever, you didn't see it, you're just crazy, it's like the first thing that went through my head when I saw this girl, when she disappeared, the very first thing was not, oh my god, I gotta call somebody. It was, there's no way that I just saw that. That was the first thing that went through my head. There's no way that just happened. There's absolutely not. There's no way. And the very next thing after that goes through my head was, yes, it did. Just like that, just like a voice of reason. And then after that, it was like, no, it didn't. There's no way. And again, it was like, yes, it did. And I sat here and I had an internal debate. Over whether or not I had seen what I had actually seen. For a good minute, I'm just sitting there like, there's no way. There is absolutely no way. It's like, yes, you saw that. It's like, you gotta be shitting me. There's no way. The first thing that went through my head was doubt. There was absolutely no way. I'm awake, I'm alone, there's no other kids in the house. My daughter was our first. 2007 was when she was born. In the end of that year, so there's no other kids. There's not like, we lived in the middle of the street, so it's not like we lived at the end of the block or the top of the block where a car pulling in makes the lights flash so it looks like something's moving or anything like that. None of that. It was just like simply just a girl. Clear as day, the outline image of a girl, pigtails on, just runs behind the couch. I'm like, holy shit. Right? And so the next thing people say is like, oh, they go back to, well, you were going to be on midnights, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I had just gotten off work at 12. It's not like, I'd been up all day, but it wasn't like, it wasn't like I'd stayed up. It wasn't like 5 o'clock in the morning where I'd been up like for almost 24 hours. I had just gotten home for all intents and purposes. I was still winding down from the day. So it's not like I was like super tired. And when people don't understand, when you're on a midnight shift, like I've seen other things of working nights and working midnights and stuff, but I've seen other things. What people don't get about a midnight shift is that if your midnight shift starts at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning is not late. 2 o'clock in the morning for a midnight shift person that starts at 12, that's 10 o'clock in the morning for someone who started to work at 8 o'clock. And if you're working in an office building or whatever, and you're not seeing shit at 10 o'clock in the morning, so it's like, why do you think that 2 o'clock would be so late that I'd be seeing just random shit? That's not how it works. Talk to me at like after the equivalent of lunch, like 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, around there. That's after technically what would be lunch for a midnight shift person, and you get that after lunch kind of sleepiness where you just go through a period for about an hour or so where you're just sleepy as hell, and you can't stay up. You got to get off the road just to get off the road for safety. So 2 o'clock in the morning is not early. 1 o'clock in the morning when I got off at 12, that's not early. So it's not like I was sleepy and worn out or anything like that. And the next thing I do after I have this debate is I get up and I go upstairs and I wake up my wife. And I'm like, you'll never believe. But she's like, what? She's like, what? Because she thinks something's wrong. Because I'm waking her up at 1 o'clock in the morning. And she's like, I'm like, you're not going to believe this. She's like, what? What is it? I just saw a little girl run through the living room. And she's like, what? She's like, yeah, I just saw a little girl run through the living room. And she looks at me and she's like, don't tell me stuff like that. And she rolls back over. She rolls over and she goes back to sleep. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is my moment, And she's just like, don't tell me stuff like that. And so I end up going back downstairs and was watching. But like for the rest of the night, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I just saw like, for all intents, like, a full-body apparition. So that's my thing. Well, the ending of it, like I guess the kicker, I don't know if you want to see what I saw. And then you tell people this too, and they're like, okay, so you just Alright, it's like, no, that's not how it happens. I'm telling you, I don't have any reason to lie to you. I'm not gonna be famous for lying to you. No. You know, it's not gonna, a ghost story that I tell you is not gonna make me famous. And I tell people, I'm like, well, at that time, the show Ghost Whisperers was on. It was in its second season, and my wife and I, we watched it, because it was cheesy. It was so cheesy, it was good. It was so bad, it's one of those shows. It's so bad, it's good. You know, like, how in the hell does Jennifer Love Hewitt end up always in high heels and a negligee in some, like, underground place, like, looking for ghosts and stuff? During the course of the second season, watching it, we went and got, I think it was, like, out on DVD, we got the first season of it. And on DVD, bought it, and, or maybe it was in the third season, and we bought the first two seasons on DVD or something like that. And I'm sitting at home, and I'm watching the show, and there's an episode there where Abigail Breslin is in one of the episodes. And in this episode, she appears to Jennifer Love Hewitt for a second as a sepia-toned outline. Like this, and I'm just like, I see this, and I'm like, oh my god, that's exactly what I saw. That's what ran behind the couch. It was this little girl, and the thing was, we hadn't seen, that was like in the first season, and I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen that episode. Never. I just saw, like, I saw it on DVD, like, I don't know, like maybe 5 months later, was when someone actually saw that, and I'm like, just like, oh my god, that's exactly what I saw. So, take it however you want to. I know I'm telling the truth. I don't have any reason to put it out there if I'm lying, because it just makes me look foolish. I know it does. But, you know what? That's what I believe in. I know what I saw, and that's why when people say, oh, there's no such thing as ghosts or anything like that, it's like, I know I'm not crazy. I know for a fact that I'm not crazy. I got a certificate to prove it. So, explain to me what I saw. Can you do that? And people are like, well, I don't know what you saw. You might have seen, you know, maybe swamp gas or something. It's like, no, I know what I saw, because I was there, and I don't have any reason to tell that story and lie to people, you know. So, that's my ghost story. That's how it happened. That's how it went down. The little girl ran through my living room. That was the first thing. That was the first thing that ever happened to me. So yeah, I'll end it there. If you liked listening to my ghost story, I've got a few more in that house, and one more that was like while I was at work, oddly enough. But yeah, if you like that one, then be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, tell all your friends about Sugar Daddy and how great he is and how you can't live without the sugar. Yeah, you know, you don't have to do that last part, but liking it and subscribing to it would be really nice, sharing it, etc. You can comment to whatever, call me a dumbass, we'll have a discussion about ghosts and shit. But so that's it. I'm Sugar Daddy, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.